So coming out of college as a gymnast though, Les, how were you able to finagle exactly what your career path would be coming out of school, trying to figure out exactly what it was that you wanted to do?
Well, it's not weird, but literally you can only compete 4 years in college in NCAA. And I got into a 5-year master's program where I was going to have a sports medicine master's by the time. And sitting in my dorm room, literally watching like Paula Abdul was out, Jody Watley, Janet Jackson, and I'm watching music videos. And, the thought of me being in school another year and not being able to compete gymnastics, I was like, I got to go. I got to get back to New York. I can do that. Music videos, I'd be sitting in front of my TV glued to like Paula Abdul and all of that. And so when I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I just got to New York, hit the pavement, hung out in Washington Square Park where all the like artists and the dancers and everybody hung out. Discovered that there was this newspaper where there were auditions called, there were two, there was Backstage and Showbiz that had auditions. And so I would start auditioning and everything I literally auditioned for would just show up for, I booked. And it just so happened like one of them happened to be two things. One was a celebrity basketball game for, oh my gosh, Bow-Legged Lou, Full Force. And they were
Okay.
doing it for a radio station. And so I became a cheerleader for that game, even though I never cheered, but it was really just a dance. And I got to do backflips across the whole gymnasium, like double full, ending with a double full twist or something. And by the time I headed back to my locker, to the dressing room, people were handing me business cards like, I need you in my video. I got an artist I need you to dance for, blah, blah, blah. And then the other was I ended up doing an off-Broadway play called Club 12, which was a remake of Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. And it was put on by Big Beat Records, which we didn't know at the time, but myself and Wyclef Jean, who did all the music for that play, and a couple of other people, we were in that production. And the record label needed a dancer for their artist, Jay Williams, who had a big house record called Sweat. And so I ended up dancing for Jay, and that song was like #1 for weeks, and all over the country. And I got to tour with him and dance for him. So that's kind of how that happened. And all the music videos and stuff started to come right after.
Speaking of the music videos, Les, remember the time with Michael Jackson? I mean, you got in there, you stole the show from Michael. What was that like when you hit that set and you knew it was about to go down?
Listen, I don't think anybody can steal the show from Michael. There was like 90% of the dancers that were in that video were from New York, and we all heard about it like on a Thursday. The audition was actually in LA on a Saturday. So I was broke as I don't know what, begging my mother, like, please, I need this plane ticket. I'm telling you, I can win, I can get this audition. And a lot of us were able to make it. Now, John Singleton had been a fan of dance, so he knew who a lot of us were. And it's crazy because it's like you never know who's watching you. So like Prince knew who dancers were, Hammer knew who other dancers were, and you just didn't know that people were watching you like that. And Fatima was choreographing, but obviously couldn't, tell everybody, yeah, you got the job. We still had to go through the process. And so when we auditioned, John was like, I want all of y'all to stay. And they set it up for us to have per diem and places to stay and stuff like that. Like they created some extra in the budget. We had to sign obviously paperwork the size of like the phone book. And we never rehearsed with Michael until the very end. So we were like 2-3 weeks into rehearsal. Michael showed up a couple of days before the actual shoot. And his version of the routine was like hit, pop, snap, crack. We were like, oh, that's what it's supposed to look like. Okay, let's go back to work and let's get it together. So we had to step our game up.
Shooting that video though, did you know that it was gonna go down as one of those iconic Michael Jackson moments to where, I mean, we gonna play that forever. It's timeless.
Well, you didn't know that, but you just knew it was magic. Like this is I had been to LA before, but this is me actually coming on the lot of Universal Studios, not to take the tour, but like I'm actually getting on a sound stage and nobody's going to kick me off. Mm-hmm. Like I have a dressing room with my name on it and a clothes with my name on it. And so it was just magic. And then on the set, Magic Johnson had half the NBA that was there. Iman the model had all the supermodels there. Eddie Murphy had all the comedians, like people were coming to visit. John had all his people. So it really was like a big deal, and you can feel the electricity in the room. And that was around the time when MTV like you had to run home, set the VCR. MTV was letting you know the premiere is coming Thursday at 7. The premiere is Thursday at 7. So there was a whole bunch of us in the hotel room, and you never know what's going to make the cutting room floor. So the fact that I got like 2 or 3 good close-ups that you could actually, like my mom could recognize me, it was like, oh, and all of us. So he blessed us all. Like John Singleton, rest his soul, blessed us all with that.
What was it like being a dancer at that time, trying to figure out how you gonna pay the bills and still pursue your passion?
Oh man, that's the plight of any artist, right? Whether you're a painter, you're a dancer, you're a musician or whatever. And my mother was definitely not trying to hear any of that without me going to college. And so thank God for the scholarship, but I still was in the gymnastic mode. The dancing thing is, I still had a job by day, and then dancing in the clubs at night. So I had a regular 9 to 5 because I wanted to move out of my mother's house. I had a car note, all that other stuff. But I just didn't have money for like the extras. And you just kind of have to believe in yourself. Like really, me going into that regular 9 to 5 job, I wanted to slip my wrist. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but just because that's the feeling of like, oh my God, please don't let me have to do this 9 to 5. So dancing and being in the club and everything was like, this is it. And of course, people who are not into the arts don't recognize that. And I tell that to anyone who has kids and you see even a glimmer of something artistic. They could be the next Picasso. They could be the next Quincy Jones. You just don't know. So just nurture whatever it is that you see your child doing, from drawing to dancing to gymnastics to football to producing music. Just nurture it. And thank God my mother finally just caved in and was like, all right. Because everybody would tell her, she's got something. She's still scratching her head like, how the hell? How? You were kicking over furniture. You were just doing cartwheels. How did all this happen?
How did you make the transition from dancing into media though?
It's interesting. For years I've kept a diary since I was like 10, and I always wanted to be a journalist. And then I ended up taking these classes in high school that I loved. And then there was one class that I hated, which changed the trajectory for me completely. And I went into sports medicine. But that gift of what you have in regard to writing and having conversations and communication just doesn't leave you. So I ended up having my heart broken when I did not get chosen to be a fly girl. Right. That was one of the biggest devastations for me. And then, not enough for me to want to quit, but just be like, all right, who am I going on tour with next? And so I got invited to be a guest on Madeline Wood's show, Video LP at the time. As a dancer and a choreographer, they had me perform on the show. We're sitting down and we're talking. And people forget that, I spent months, weeks, days, years on the road with all of these artists. I've seen them without their wigs, without their lashes. I know their family members. Were in rehearsals, hot, sweaty hours of the night. We just all raw. And we just have relationships where we're bonded in stories that people don't know. So when the producers from Rap City heard me talking about moments and experiences with Heavy D or with Bobby Brown and stuff, they were like, oh my gosh, she'd be perfect for Rap City. And Rap City didn't have any female voices representing them. And it came with a struggle. They had to fight for me to, one, be taken seriously as a female with a voice in hip hop, and two, the men at the helm had to be convinced, because I didn't look like what excites them physically. So, my producers, Keith Paschal and Sunita Brooks, fought really hard for me. Like, listen, she has more information than any of us because she's up close and personal with these people. She's the one. So they had to fight for me to get on there. And next thing you know, it was 7 years that I was on there.
What the hell did you mean talking about you didn't look like what excited them physically? Because everybody that saw Big Les went crazy. So, I need you to do some explaining with that right there. And then also, what was it like for you being a beauty, one of the first beauties in hip hop that everybody knew and recognized and loved, and having that attention and then navigating the industry with that going on?
Oh, bless you, and thank you for saying that. But you'd be surprised. There's men who want something that's eye candy for them, and everybody doesn't like brown skin, big lips, big nose. And that was around the time where, and I don't want to pit us against each other, but the light-skinned, long-haired girls were obviously, getting more of the work than the rest of us, whether it's in music videos and stuff like that. Colorism is a real thing, especially amongst our people. And it was told to my face that you were not the person that men want to see on a regular basis. Or when I tried
to go back in time and kick their ass, but continue.
but it's happened, and I have, you know, there are people in the room who can vouch for it. And that's why for me it's always been, I've had to prove myself talent first, right? The name Big Les came because they're like, who's the big girl doing backflips? I didn't name myself that. You know, as a gymnast, I've been a gymnast since I was 10. I'm 5'6", 100 and whatever pounds. Most gymnasts like Simone Biles are 4'9", 90 pounds. So people look at me like, no, you play basketball or you run track. And then it's like, okay, let me backflip on that ass. And then they're like, oh, she is a gymnast. Oh, I show you videotape of me vaulting or doing the uneven bars. And they're like, oh, I get it. She's a real gymnast for real. And that's kind of what my journey has been, even always having to prove myself, especially as a dancer. You know, when dancing in LA versus New York are completely different. New York was always like knee pads, Doc Martens, gritty, come with the skill in the first 15 seconds. LA was like, stand in the line and let's see how pretty you are. Okay, you stay, you stay. You don't even get a chance to dance if you don't have the body type or look the way that they want you to look. And I've been in rooms where I knew I could dance circles around all of these girls here, but never got the chance to dance because I didn't look the part or look whatever they thought was beautiful. So there's a difference. And it's been a struggle.